Holman, what if I told you that we had Ken Bruner, the champion from this past weekend's AMSOIL Ultimate Callout Challenge, on this episode?
I would say that's awesome, and he possibly had a very slightly tiny better weekend than I did.
What happened to you?
Oh, I just flew out with some friends and hung out with Brooks and Dunn and got to go on stage and stuff at a concert.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw you flashing your all-access pass. You're not supposed to do that, by the way.
I don't care.
When you're given an all-access pass, it says right on the back, no photos of the pass.
This does not say that.
Normally they do. They don't want you flashing those around.
They said, here, go anywhere. You know what's funny is the guy who was sort of like the manager. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, so can I go on stage and get some photos? He goes, with that all-access pass, I don't care where you go. Just show them that. Unless it's me and I tell you no, then don't show me that pass.
Okay.
Very funny. It was great.
So Brooks and Dunn, that's a name that I have not heard uttered in quite some time now. I realize that they are relevant still in circles.
Are you kidding me? They sold out 30,000 people.
Yeah. I just feel like...
It's you. You're not in that genre.
I think that's probably right.
It was awesome. So a good friend of mine was childhood friends with Kix Brooks. And so we got invited to be his guest. So we flew out to Salt Lake City and had dinner with him at Ruth's Chris. Just our little group and him is awesome.
Well, just slow your roll for a second here.
What?
This is the same guy that's an entrepreneur and struggling and scraping every nickel together. And now you're flying in first class and you're eating at Ruth's Chris and you have an all-access pass to Brooks and Dunn?
I used my Delta Miles.
Wait, it's not Brooks and Dunn. What are they called again?
Brooks and Dunn.
Brooks and Dunn.
So you don't even know the name of the band.
I was about to see, like, what's the men's clothier? Brooks Brothers? I was about to call them the Brooks Brothers.
This is why the story isn't relevant for you.
No.
I used my copious amount of Delta Miles and hung off with my rich friends. It was great. So we had dinner with him. Super cool guy, super gracious. And so we leave dinner. We get a group photo, and he's like, hey, you want to come back to my coach and have a nightcap? And we're like, what?
Well,
seriously?
Wait, hold on a second.
So we go on.
Was it weird?
No, it was awesome. So we go on his
Would you like to come back to my coach for a nightcap?
Yeah, so we all got on the bus, and he pulls out this whole thing of booze. He goes, whatever you guys want. And we sat there, and we spun yarns for a few hours. And then he goes, oh, guys, I got a golf date in the morning, so I got to go to bed. So he kicks us out. And then the next day, we go to the venue, get our passes. We got free range wherever we want to go. Food,
did you
drink,
see Soundcheck?
Everything. Saw Soundcheck. Mm-hmm. Two great bands, Ernest and David Lee Murphy, David Lee Murphy is kind of like a Chris Stapleton type who wrote everybody else's songs forever. And both bands were super, super great. And so saw them, and then we get a text from Kix. He's like, hey, you want to come back on the bus and hang out before the show? So we hung out, drank with them, all that stuff, and then it was awesome.
Now, were they drinking, like getting lit up, or just having a couple of cocktails?
We were just hanging out, talking. It was awesome. And then
You're not walking like sideways. You're like, it was a great time on the bus.
No.
I like rock stars.
What's wrong with you? No.
I don't know. Do you control yourself? Did you fanboy out on him?
Yeah, I got into his bed and said, be my husband. Well, no, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't say were you like that.
A friend of mine was gracious enough to invite me to an experience to meet somebody that's a huge talent and happens to love cars and things like that. And we talked about that kind of stuff. And he's got a winery in Tennessee. We talked about his kind of entrepreneurial stuff he's doing in other places. And then before the show, we got invited. The band before the show has their own bar in like a hard case that they bring out, and the whole crew takes a shot before the show.
Tell me, it's in like one of those guitar cases, like in the fold out. Like
no, it's in a hard case. It's like one of those
like a road case.
Yes.
Oh, it's in an actual. That's
so we all took a shot, and then they went on. We got to go on stage and watch them come on stage and start the show. And then Kix got us these killer seats, like dead center, right up front, and it was awesome.
All right, well. How does Ken Bruner, UCC champ, and Brooks and Dunn, like, how do they balance each other?
The reason I brought that up was not to humble brag about my experience with Brooks and Dunn.
Sure.
I mean, maybe a little bit. I just brought it up because this is funny. So one of the guys who went with us, there were four of us who took the trip out there, Sam, he's like, hey, we're in Salt Lake City. Really want to go by Kindig's place. Do you guys mind if I pick up tour tickets and we can walk through Kindig's place? I'm like, yeah, okay. You're figuring, we've interviewed Kindig and Kev Dog before.
Yep.
You're figuring out there's no reason for them to actually be there. It's a TV show. They don't actually.
Of course they do. I think they work there.
So we go there, hanging out. On the wall is every magazine article, on the what do they call it? I guess the wooden yeah.
So if you guys have ever built a show car, anyone that's ever built a show car, and it's been in a magazine, an actual printed magazine,
people will call you.
You
so
know
you can order
that within days of it being printed, you get a call that says, "Would you like to buy the spread, your magazine spread, on a wood plaque covered in epoxy?"
Yeah.
And everyone gets suckered into doing it.
Well,
and then you end up like for all the nice auto shops that build show cars,
they put them all over the
walls.
Yeah,
covered
so
in
he
them.
had walls covered, and I know all the authors, like our buddy Jason Mulligan, and I'm reading the bylines, but I know who wrote this. I knew who wrote this. All these great vehicles. And it was kind of weird because it's sort of like the opposite of the Brooks and Dunn experience. Like Brooks and Dunn, I'm a nobody who got like parachuted into that. And then at Kindig, it's like, well, this is my whole world. And I'm just sitting in the chair watching my friends be all excited about the cars and stuff. And they've got their new Riddler Award winner sitting there that you're not supposed to talk about yet. And it was so funny, like how different those two experiences were. So
now, did you see any of your own bylines up there?
I haven't written any features on a Kindig vehicle.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Which would have been cool. I could have gone, hey, guys, I wrote that.
But he's done a couple of trucks.
He has.
The stars didn't align.
But it was later when I was out of that side of the industry. So anyway, walking through the shop, here comes Kindig walking by. And everybody's like, dude, you should say hi to him. I'm like, he doesn't remember me from anybody.
Well, they're acting like he's a celebrity.
And they're like, dude, he's right there. And he's like talking to the painter, and he's mixing. He goes, hey, guys, on the tour. And he's like there working on his personal project and blah, blah. And he walks over, and everybody's like, and I'm like, guys, no, he doesn't care. Whatever.
That's so funny.
And
they're so like fanboying out on Kindig.
He makes eye contact with me, and I'm like, hey, Dave. And he walks over, and I said, you might remember we interviewed you at SEMA Truck Show Podcast. He goes, hey, man, what's going on? So my friends are like, dude, no. So he shook my hand, and it was so funny because I'm sure he probably
You're a rock star.
He probably didn't remember.
High five
but he shook my hand. He's like, oh yeah, man, enjoy the tour, blah blah blah. If he had remembered who I was, he probably would have said, oh, dude, screw this tour. Let me give you the real tour. Right. But it wasn't. I want to. And then Kev Dog was in the back of the dude. Kev Dog's right there. Go. I'm like, dude, none of these guys are going to remember that we did a podcast interview at SEMA.
They might. They were laughing. That was a good interview.
So anyway, it was funny because I was in, I was living vicariously through their eyes of how excited they were. And it was still cool to see. His shop is awesome, right? Like I
love how like you were so jaded about that whole scene,
and not jaded about the music stuff, which is like the way you and I would be probably. So anyway, it was fun. So we went to Salt Lake City, had a fun guys trip, and I just thought it was hilarious that my buddies were like, "Dude, it's Kindig. Go say hi to him," and I was just like. Hey, hi, Dave. Oh, hey. And they were all excited. And they're like, dude, good job. Yeah.
I've seen every episode.
He totally shook. Oh, I know. Yeah. And they were fanboying. Oh, that one car. Oh, remember that car back in season? And I wondered, like, is there anybody, like, listening to this show that'd be like, oh, dude, you remember that one episode? Because I don't even remember what we did half the time.
Nah, our listeners do.
But it's so weird. And then, it's people are like, dude, well, they kind of know you. I'm like, listen, I'm on a podcast. Nobody knows what I look like, number one. And number two, if I can walk through Kindig shop and nobody knows we're not famous. We're just enthusiasts like you guys who get to enjoy talking about the stuff and have a platform. So it's just funny to be out in the real world. I don't know. The whole thing was just funny.
Sounds like a good time.
The juxtaposition between the two experiences.
Well, you were out being a rock star. I was at home
coughing up your
coughing,
lung.
and it was awful.
Well, I was hoping that you wouldn't give it to me because last time we recorded was a day before I left for this trip.
You seem healthy.
I'm still standing.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like I'm past the point of where I could have diseased you up. And
are you gonna try again tonight?
No,
second bite at the apple.
No, because I feel from the neck down, I feel really healthy. From my chin up, like I'm just still all congested. But what do you do? Like I just can't get rid of it. I want to get Z-Pack, but I ain't gonna go stand in the line at the doctor's office.
I know the feeling. So. Just sometimes you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, me? Thanks, Dick. All right, let's thank Nissan and get into the show.
All right, it's time to get into the Truck Show podcast presented by Nissan. So if you are looking for a truck, you want to head on down to your local dealership. We're going to check out the Frontier or the Titan. The Frontier starts at just $30,510 and comes standard with the 310 horsepower, 3.8-liter V6 backed by a 9-speed automatic, and you can get the hard body, which is super retro, or you get our favorite off-road Frontier, the Pro 4X. If you want to see all the different configurations of the Nissans, head on over to nissanusa.com where you can build and price the Nissan Frontier that fits your needs. You won't be disappointed. If you're in the market for the truck, put that at the top of your list and at least go take it for a test drive.
And if you've got a truck that just doesn't have enough data on the dashboard, you're like, I just don't know what my trans stamp is, or it's got a bunch of dummy lights that really you don't really trust, it's time to invest in a Banks iDash. There's the iDash Super Gauge and the iDash Data Monster. The difference being data logging in the Data Monster. Everything else is the same. You can monitor and set alerts for hundreds of parameters: pressures, temps, speeds, velocities, voltages, even calculated horsepower and torque. You name it, it's on the iDash. It's a compact 52 millimeter gauge, and it hangs right on your A-pillar in a beautiful stealth pod. Head over to bankspower.com to check out the iDash Super Gauge or the iDash Data Monster. And if you want to hear more about how it's being used in a race application, our buddy Ken Bruner, winner of the Ultimate Callout Challenge, might have a few tips for you.
All right, he's coming up. And by the way, he also runs AMSOIL. I believe he was using the Dominator synthetic racing oil in that truck that just won first place at the Ultimate Callout Challenge. And that's sponsored also by our friends over at AMSOIL. Why synthetic motor oil? Well, synthetics have a ton of benefits, including helping your engine last longer. The oil itself lasts longer, so you don't have to change it as often, which helps you save money. And don't forget, AMSOIL is a family-owned business, and they were the first in synthetics, starting a whole new category for performance lubrication. Head on over to AMSOIL.com, type in your year, make, model, and see all of the different lubricants that they make for your specific vehicle, including car care products.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
Oh, Holman, before we get into Ken, before we dial him up,
Yeah.
I'm very excited to play some new music for you. I have some Truck Show podcast exclusiveness for you, some world premieres.
Oh, boy.
But you got to wait till the end of the show to get it. So,
All right.
All right, let's talk Ultimate Callout Challenge. Let's call up our friend Ken Bruner, owner of Capital Diesel Performance and the winner of this weekend's event. On the phone, we have one Mr. Ken Bruner of Capital Diesel Performance, the winner of the Ultimate Call Out Mother Effin' Challenge. Yes! What's up, Ken? Are you still alive after this weekend?
Yeah, barely. I'm just trying to piece myself together.
Better you than your truck, my friend.
So what you guys don't know is that we're calling him in a hotel room. He's been driving for like a day and a half, and it's just after the weekend when he took home the giant trophy. I assume it's a big trophy. I saw you guys partying like rock stars, like high-fiving each other right after the award was given out, and I want you to take us through how it feels to be the new champ at the Ultimate Callout Challenge, Ken. But first, I want to back up and find out how you got here. How did you get into diesel racing as a Northern California boy?
Well, the story's pretty simple, actually. So my first truck was my dad's old work truck, and it was a 2000 Dodge Ram 2500. It's like a second-gen Cummins diesel, and just like every truck connoisseur, I just kind of like started with one modification. Just gonna add an air filter. Next thing you know, you're like, you know what? It'd be cool to add a fuel pump, and then it just kind of spiraled out of control, and here we are racing at the top.
So it goes from an air filter to 2,800 horsepower, Holman.
So talk to me about where this truck was and where it is now. So what's the build? What's the trans? What's the engine? Is it a 5.9, a 6.7, a hybrid of the two? What did you do to get it to this level?
Yeah, it's a 2006. So Dodge Ram 2500 again. So I've only owned Dodges. Man, what is done to it? Let's just say everything. I've touched every single nut and bolt and wire on that truck. There is nothing that hasn't been taken off and put back on, except for the cab, I would say. We've done. Yeah,
I was going to say, so Holman, this is a work of art. So it's full tube chassis, right? And I don't know if there's any frame left on it, but so I know a little bit about Ken, and he's got an engineering background. So all of the suspension work, the chassis work is gorgeous. It's all really well gusseted. And where a lot of guys are just about big horsepower, and he is about the engineering behind it. So what do you do for a living, Ken?
I'm a mechanical engineer, and I design medical devices, things like heart valve replacement devices and therapies, where we, kind of stuff that helps people, come back from heart failure. So we design mechanical valves and delivery systems.
Billet blocks in those people, or?
Yeah. Basically, we're fixing broken hearts.
So then do you find, as you got into the sport, Ken, and you're tinkering with your dad's truck and now your truck, and you're doing local races and sled pulls and things like that, do you find that your mechanical engineering background gives you a leg up on the other guys that maybe just are maybe tractor repairman, or just regular guys, maybe plumbers or construction guys who just happen to have some money or a fever for this sport? Because I feel like when I look at your truck versus some of the others, you do have a leg up on some of the competitors. And it wasn't until recently that you started winning, but your stuff has always looked amazing, and I've been following you for a long time on social media.
Man, I think the experience comes from breaking stuff, right? So all of us, me and the other competitors, I would say a lot of us break stuff, kind of evaluate why it broke, and then kind of, try to fix it. And but before that happens, what I try to do is design it right the first time, right? So try to evaluate, what's going to happen and how I want to prevent any damage. So, I mean, do I think it's an advantage knowing what I do from my, mechanical engineering background? Maybe not an advantage, but maybe it's just awareness and well, I don't know. It sure does make it a lot easier when you know the why behind how things work. But I don't know. Just trying to be modest, I don't want to sound cocky, so I don't know.
No, I appreciate the candor, the honesty, because I think, Holman, I met Ken some time ago. I was in Sacramento, California, and he was there racing. And I'm looking at the truck in the parking lot, and it was just incredible. And he had some random sensors around the truck, and I went up and said, "Hey, I'd love to supply you with all the sensors you need for this." And that's when I had just started out with Banks.
Well, that turned out to be a smart move.
It was, because there's a big Banks logo on the side of this truck, up on on the dyno, and in every. So I've got. It did turn out to be wonderful, but it wasn't just he didn't just win right away. It was the only orange truck. A lot of them were silver, black, blue, whatever. But this one really popped, and the attention to detail on this truck was just. It was mind-blowing. There wasn't, just when you go to SEMA, Holman, where you find a show truck like a Roadster shop build or any of those really high-end builds, every nut and bolt, every piece of, all the chassis work is just, you ooze over. And this truck was that. He wasn't the fastest one out there, but there was so much engineering I could tell, and so much love that went into this truck.
Well, when you see the truck itself and you look at some of the detailed photos, there's little things like the way the gussets for the bed are constructed. There's a little bit of design along with the engineering with it. The way that the exhaust leaves the turbo through the wheel opening rather through a stack in the hood like everybody else. And there's just a few little kind of fun things you look at. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool, or that's kind of different. And it doesn't look like a cookie cutter to everybody else's build.
Right. And some of the things that you wouldn't think about, when you think of Ultimate Callout Challenge, you think of the sled pull, and you think of the 8th mile, and you think of the big dyno run, but you don't think of suspension. You might not know this, but Holman is a suspension geek, aficionado. And Ken, you've spent a lot of time on the suspension of this truck, which I don't think most people do, right? In this sport.
Well, you need to, because even when I was out running Diesel Power Challenge back in the day, a good suspension, a bad suspension is the difference between a truck making it down the drag strip. I mean, you would see axle hops slowing them down, destroying parts and U-joints and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people think of suspension, think, oh, it's off-roading or it's autocross or it's jumping. But in this case, suspension really matters, even for the sled pull, because you have to be able to handle that weight transfer as the vehicle is pulling down the sled.
Yeah, I mean, we did spend a lot of time, kind of checking out or assessing the suspension, like the four-link, for example, trying to find the instant center, exactly where the center of mass is on the truck, which is a little more harder than you would imagine. I mean, you could front to back, it's pretty easy to figure out throwing it on 4 corner scales, but doing it on the, I don't know, I would call it the y-axis or top to bottom, trying to find that point where, you go from squat to anti-squat on the four-link, just a little bit harder to figure out. So we did spend some time looking into that and trying to dial in, where we thought would launch this truck the best down the track. The front was a little less calculated. We just kind of went with an OEM approach and just kind of followed what was on the truck already. As for, tractor pulling, we just wanted to lock out and make sure that the frame was connected to the rear end as rigid as possible. So, we designed the four-link to incorporate the bump stops, make them removable, of course, and just be able to swap back and forth between drag racing and sled pulling.
This interview is happening so fast after that you aren't even home yet, which, by the way, where is home for you?
Santa Rosa, California. So we're a little bit north of San Francisco.
All right, so you're driving all the way back to north of where we are, but same state. But it's so quick that the results aren't even online yet. I kind of have 2 questions. I don't know if you have your numbers for the drag race, dyno day, or the sled pull, but did you finish first, second, third? I mean, because when I ran Diesel Power Challenge, there's a lot of guys who didn't have all firsts who won because they were so well-rounded that they were tops in each category. So how did that work out, and when did you know that you had a chance of taking this thing home?
The first day we ran a 5:29, and it put us in first place right out the gate. We knew we had a pretty strong drag racing setup. The dyno was more of the concern, I would say. We've made horsepower in the past, right? But not nearly what we would consider a winning number for the event. So, I think our personal best before going into the event was like 1,700 horsepower.
So I have it right here.
Not really, yeah.
Ultimate Callout Challenge in 2021, you did 1753.3 horsepower and 2724.9 pound-feet of torque on the dyno. So what did you hit this year?
We hit, I think, 2832. So 2,800 horsepower. We put over 1,000 horsepower on top of our last run at UCC.
That is huge.
What was your torque?
I think it was 3,100.
I mean, that's just silly numbers. I remember, back then in the DPC days, you would have 2,500 pound-feet of torque or 22, something like that, and that was a pretty big number back then. But you could feel the power pulses through the concrete floor of the shop on dyno day. I can't even imagine what 3,000 pound-feet of torque. I mean, that thing must just want to just tear itself apart.
I imagined that's what it wanted to do, but thanks to that Freedom Racing engine, it did not. So
what place did you place on the dyno?
Second.
Okay, so you went into sled pull going, I think we got this?
No, I mean, quite the opposite. So first day one drag racing, we were in the lead by quite a bit. And then on, what I would call day 2, I mean, we kind of had a 2-day dyno, but usually we would call it day 2 dyno. Chris Patterson came out with a 3,000 horsepower, rating. That put him, from a point perspective, like a 1.5 foot difference on the tractor pulling field. So he had to get like 2 feet to beat us in points overall on the sled pull day. It was neck and neck the whole time.
All right, and now you get to sled pull day, and what's going through your mind when they hook up?
What's going through my mind? I'm thinking, my truck has sled pulled pretty well in the past. The next competitor up, Chris Patterson's got a really nice long wheelbase, which happens to be advantageous on the sled pulling track. So I'm like, we need to hit this with everything we have, but at the same time, be strategic. So the way we wanted to do it was throw around 1,600 horsepower to the tire and not blow the tires off and just kind of free spin like you're spinning on ice. So we wanted enough horsepower, but not too much that we were just blowing the tires off and not, biting into the ground.
And you saw the green lights, the flags, you get into it. Walk me through your run. You're pulling away. You've got the sled pulled attached to the back. At what point in that are you thinking, we're going all the way, we got this? Or was there a part maybe halfway or 3/4 down the track you're going, come on, baby, let's go.
No, okay. So the way we did it was we have a manual valve body. We put it in second gear. We spooled it up. We built up some boost. We started to roll it out, and then we just smacked it with everything we had, and it just lit up and took off. The engine responded very well. And it just started singing down the track at something I would believe is like 5,500 RPM. We hit lockup in second. Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, 5,500 RPM.
A stock Cummins is like 2,800 redline or something like that, right?
And the power band is like max torque is 1,400 RPM or something, right? Like this is way higher. That's crazy. The cam you've got to have in this thing.
Yep. And, we hit lockup and it still was sounding great. So then after that, we hit third and it just took it. I was impressed, surprised, happy all at the same time. And you could feel the truck and we were going fast. So we had momentum, but man, when that weight hit the end of that sled, it felt like, we hooked up to a brick house and it just, it really, slowed us down right there at the end. But it was enough to be, the furthest hook of the entire day.
So did you take first in drag, second in dyno, and then first in sled?
Yep, that's correct.
Man, that's awesome. So now you're the winner. It's taken a lot to get there. I want to start knowing about some hard parts. I want to know about the big mods to the engine. I want to know what size turbo, what you're doing for a tune, and then what's your driveline look like? Because you could put out 2,800 horsepower and 3,000 plus pound-feet of torque, but you got to have axles and U-joints and all that kind of stuff, downstream, transmission, transfer case. Let's tell people what you did to make this thing bulletproof.
Because there can be no weak links, or you fail.
Well, if you have one weak link, right? You fail. I mean, there's. It's not like you have a fusible link where you're like, well, if that breaks, we can fix it. Well, if that breaks, you're done.
You're done. Go home.
The engine is a 6.7 liter. It's 6.7 liter displacement, but the block is a Hamilton competition wet block that has been filled solid, so there's not an ounce of water in it. It's also sleeved and deck plated, so we've got an inch longer rod, which helps with rod ratio, and then also reinforces the very top of the cylinder by 1 inch of billet steel. So no casting at the top where the highest compression is. It's just a big steel plate that takes all the brunt. And then, sleeve down to connect the deck plate to the block. So that's the block and the engine. And for the turbos, we have 2 Garrett 55 frame turbochargers. We got an 85 millimeter compressor on the manifold and a 106 millimeter atmospheric charger. For fuel, we've got 2 12 millimeter Dynamite diesel performance CP3s, what they call super metal injectors. A lot of fuel, a lot of engine, a lot of air. And, to put it to the ground, we got a 48 RE that's been highly modified. So, everything inside of it is completely gone through. So, upgraded shaft sizes and added clutches in each pack, higher line pressures for apply. And then going down to the drive shafts, we've got DNR drive shafts, which are 1480, U-joints in the rear. It's an aluminum drive shaft and 1410 steel drive shaft in the front.
Are you using cryo on anything? Is that something that people are still doing?
I don't have cryo on anything. I've never had any experience with it, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
So I'm kind of curious. You mentioned that the block's got no water in it, and so obviously this thing is made for short runs to make a lot of power.
Yeah, I mean it would instantly overheat.
Well, that's new to me. So how long can you run it before it gets too hot? How do you cool it? Is it just on the oil circuit? And then how often does something like that need to be rebuilt? I mean, you stressed it. You won the competition. Is that something that you're going to take apart now, or is it good for another competition for the next time?
The last time I did it, I had it going for a couple of years. and there was no issues, so we didn't need to rebuild it. We just kept hitting it, and it wasn't an issue, so we just ran it forever. But from a running perspective, it's only like 10 to 15 minutes that we let the thing, and that's like we sit there before running down the drag strip, we run down the track, idle it back to the pits. It's not a very long, temperature cycle, I guess you'd call it. So we try not to keep the heat in it. We try to keep the heat out of it. I think we try to shut it down between like around 180 degrees of oil temp. There are some cases where people do the same, but they just run it with hot oil. But I just like to play it safe and keep it low.
You're saying that there's no radiator, there's no cooling of any kind. It's just ambient temp, right? And then you run it too hard, it gets to 280 degrees or more. You just turn it off and just let it cool over time. I mean,
and throw fans on it. Yep.
That's crazy to me because it just is.
But I mean, what is the advantage over not having it? So you're trading strength for cooling, right? You're trading just sheer.
Well, that's one less fluid you have to carry. You don't have the weight of a coolant reservoir and things like that.
There is that, but I mean, like, what's the biggest advantage? Is it just strength over cooling?
It's strength. Yeah, it's strength. We're just trying to make it as solid and rigid as a member as possible. Basically, we want to back up those cylinders and fill all the jackets and just make it as solid as possible.
So how do they do that? That's machined that way, or do you guys actually are you pouring liquid metal into it? No, you can't be. Like, that's insane. It would have to be just made that.
They run molten lava through the cooling system.
Yeah, it's a block filler. They call it concrete block filler. I would assume that it's epoxy of some sort. But, Moroso sells it. I don't know what Freedom is using, but, I've never filled an engine, but I've seen enough of them. It's, I would assume they cap the deck, they turn it upside down, they fill it with the block filler, maybe put it on a vibration table to get any voids or air bubbles out of it, let it dry, and, there you go.
Do you think there's that one guy in the shop, Doofus, who is like, I got a 5-cylinder. I filled them all, boss. You want to get the other ones here?
Right. Oh, how cool would it be to like put like an Easter egg, some kind of like some little trinket in there as it's drying, as it's curing. And it's
you melt down your trophy from previous years and you fill your block with it. That's right.
Got it. So we've gone through the engine, the drivetrain. Take us through into the interior. And when you and I met, you had a bunch of analog gauges. And then you're like, I asked you, like, how are you logging any of this stuff? You're like, well, we're not really. And I said, would you like to?
Yeah, and I'll tell you the real answer that I gave you is we had a bunch of analog gauges, and I had a cell phone taped to my roll cage and videoing them as a data logger.
Yes,
so that seems
that
legit.
That was my data logger. Which I'm all about the data, and I love going back through the passes and checking out temperatures, pressures, and all of it. So we would literally tape the phone to the roll cage and video the gauges throughout the run and kind of scroll through and see where everything was going, which is obviously not ideal.
So tell me how the Banks iDash has changed your life in terms of building this engine and in competition.
I mean, it's the big part is all the temperatures, right? Temperatures, shaft speeds for the turbochargers, and pressure ratios, right? So balancing those two turbochargers to get, speed out of both of them, not overspeed one of them, but, split the pressure ratios between the two is really, the data has helped us titrate or balance in the wastegate. So we try to keep those turbochargers alive and happy. We, don't let them overspeed. So knowing the shaft speed and then also the drive pressure and boost from each of them is just really beneficial and helps you dial that in.
Yeah, you think those are like rated to like 130,000 RPM or higher?
Yeah, I mean, we don't go that high. I mean, like we usually see like 75,000, 70,000, maybe even lower. It really helps to have the compounds and just instead of just a single turbocharger. Yeah, it's amazing the RPM that they spin.
Do you think that you could have done this with your analog gauges and your cell phone duct taped to the roll cage?
Absolutely not.
So there's your Banks endorsement right there.
Yeah, exactly,
You
yeah.
would not have won without having the iDash.
iDash
We
Data
love it.
Monsters for the win. Okay.
Yeah.
Something I want to ask about. So I've never been in a vehicle with more than, I don't know, 800 horsepower. And so 2,800 horsepower. Now I realize the dyno where you're really putting it down is you're not moving. You're just strapped to it. And your fear is that I'm going to go for broke. I don't want to blow it up. I want to find out how that is. Like, how do you decide how far to push it and not paint the crowd with pistons?
You know, I wanted to go into this weekend being conservative. My motto, and my I'll have to give my brother some credit. He used to always say it to me, is like, to finish first, you must first finish. So and that's kind of the name of the game in the UCC event. You know, like a lot of people, I mean, if you look at the dropout numbers, like 5, 6, 7 people like blew up engines and couldn't finish the event. So we tried to be conservative and not try to swing for the moon. Now, that being said, we put out an insane horsepower number, which was actually kind of unintended. We kind of got to a point where we didn't know exactly how much nitrous to spray, and we were kind of lacking experience. So we just sprayed a lot, but what we thought was conservative. The truck made, we had some private dyno sessions with Hardway Performance and at the Fleece, building, and we made around 1,700 on fuel only.
Wow.
Yep. So we made 1,700 horse fuel only, which was, really good for us. We just knew that, what nitrous we had available. And I would say, now my tuner is going to kill me when I say this because he wanted every drop that I had available, but I would say I put 80% of it. So, we had 4 stages of nitrous with huge nozzles. I mean, we had a 1/4-inch nozzle or jet on one of them. It was really out of control how much nitrous we put into it.
Holy mackerel. So how many bottles was that?
We had 2 20-pound bottles with -10 feed lines going to the solenoids.
Oh,
yeah, and then the
Lord.
solenoids, have 6 AN going to the jets. And I don't know if the company's in business anymore or what's going on, but they're called mega jets, and they're your typical brass jet could almost fall through the dang thing. The whole body can fit through the orifice of these mega jets.
Does it just look like a hose nozzle? Like a garden hose?
Yeah, I mean, essentially you just have different sized garden hose nozzles on these things. But
Bonkers.
the timing is the real key, right? Like if you just spray all of that and you backfire, I mean, there goes your engine, right?
And
you gotta
anyone standing behind you.
progressively, yeah.
Could
right?
you imagine
You
backfiring
gotta
when the
put it
sled's
in.
back
Yeah.
there and you blow the sled straight out the back of the arena?
Well, no, we're talking about dyno right now.
No,
Yeah,
I
that
know
would be-
we
yeah,
are.
yeah,
but what I'm saying is you hit the nitrous button, the whole thing just explodes.
boom, it's gone.
Blows the whole
Yeah,
sled right
and
off.
that's what
the
I
back.
was so worried about. Yeah, I mean, we didn't want to. We just put this engine in, and the last thing we wanted to do was take it, out in
And do it again?
30,000 pieces.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess since
so-
you've got a front wheel well exhaust exit, you would just spray everybody on your passenger side. Just vaporize them all with a garden hose of nitrous
then-
being dumped.
How do you know then, Ken, when to hit? You're up on the dyno, and by the way, this is a raised
Yep.
dyno. Right, it's like 6 feet off the ground, and it's basically on the back of a semi truck. It's one of the mobile dynos. So the crowd's got a really good view from the grandstands. You guys have seen this on YouTube before. We're like, I think it wasn't Dynamite Diesel, Industrial Injection. I think famously blew up their truck a couple years ago. And some other guys have done it too, where the engine just explodes into a ball of flames. You had to be worried about that. At what point do you hit the button, and how long do you hold it? Like, how do you time that? Is it RPM? Is it full load? Where are you, and how do you know?
The strategy we wanted to do was so let me look back up a little bit. So the points. it used to be horsepower plus torque. And since that torque value was such, like you just added the two together to get points, you had to hit it from the basement, as well as we would say. So you would spray all that nitrous down low, and it was a gamble. Now the rules have changed, or the point system has changed. It's horsepower only. So the strategy was, let's make less torque, be easier on the components, and spray it higher, and just use RPM to give us the higher power.
Gotcha.
So we all know that, horsepower is a rate of torque. So the game is to make more horsepower with less torque. You got to spin it faster, and it's, less torque on the components. It's easier on them, right? So we went up to around 3,200 RPM, and that's when we decided to spray it. We also wanted to ramp things in. So, instead of spraying everything at once, we had, a series of stages, ramp in over the run. And then we knew from our private, dyno session that the peak horsepower was around 4,200 RPM. So on the dyno, there is a monitor where you can see RPM. So that's basically what I went off to. I said, you know what? I know I want to initiate all this nitrous at 3,200. We put it in at, a certain amount of boost and ramped them all in. And then once I saw 30 or 4,300, I just let go, and I said, no more. There's no point in carrying it out after you've, crested and you're on the downhill of horsepower.
And that's automated, so it ramps it in automatically, or do you have like a multi-stage where you're stage one, thumb one, thumb two, then reach in and give me thumb number three. Yep, exactly. So no, we're running a nitrous controller where it stages in according to boost. So that's what it stages them in, like 30 PSI stage one goes on, 2 PSI or 40 PSI, basically different stages come on with different boost levels just to ramp them in a series. And what does the truck run on? Are you in Motec, Haltech? What are you doing?
We're on just the OEMs.
No way.
49.
Really?
Yeah, I know. We're balling on a budget. I don't know. Everyone's running these cool. It was funny because I know there's a lot of other competitors. They have the real cool, Motec systems and stuff, and that would be, a dream to have one day. But yeah, we're on the factory, controller, and it didn't let us down.
I mean, so, I guess you don't need, a $15,000 Motec system if the factory is.
But if somebody from Motec is listening and wants to crown the champion with the Motec parts, this is your perfect opportunity.
I work with David over there in the U.S. part of Motec, and I can tell you, they don't give much away.
No,
they're sought after. So is Ryan Milliken your tuner?
Yes.
Okay, so Ryan Milliken owns Hardweight Performance. They're out of the Panhandle in Florida, and that dude is talented. Like, he's really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And so were you guys, were you remotely, was he remoting into your truck while you were in Santa Rosa as you were getting ready for this?
Well, Ryan has a base tune, and he knows, 90% of what, needs to be done. So basically what we do is we do some remote tuning. We do some spool up testing just, to make sure the engine is getting up on top of the, converter, and we can spool the chargers up. We log that and we send it back and forth, and he could figure out most of it there. But the dyno session, it's hard to beat in-person testing and to be able to hear it and see what's going on. So most of it was done remote, but, being able to do it in person a couple days before the event, was just gold. It was just great to have it on the dyno and run it through and listen and come up with even like a dyno strategy, because there's different ways to run that dyno. Do you put the brakes on? Do you load up the engine before the dyno does? Do you load it up, there's just so many different techniques. So we kind of came up with that strategy as well.
Talk to us about your AMSOIL sponsorship and what you thought about using AMSOIL. Had you used it before? Was this your first time? Did you switch from somebody else? And what did the oil look like? Did you take a look afterwards, or you haven't got to that part yet?
No, I haven't got to that part yet. I was talking with AMSOIL. I'd like to get it tested.
Heck yeah.
But we've always ran the AMSOIL Severe gear. It's great stuff. Never had an issue, knock on wood, with any of our differentials. Just, fantastic fluid. We just recently went to the Dominator oil in the engine, Freedom Racing engines, highly recommended it. They used it for their break-in, so we continued it with the oil for all of it. We used, their Dominator fluid, and then we went to their ATF, which we didn't have a real transmission failure all weekend. So, I think that speaks for itself.
Fantastic.
It's amazing to see, a driveline stressed all the way to, Lightning will hate this, 11/10ths, and to have a fluid manufacturer have something that can keep up with the hard parts that you've, put together.
Yeah, it really is. I really want to, put that oil in, get it or run it through its paces and get it checked out and just see what it comes back.
Now, have you done that in the past with other oils? So do you know what an after competition might look like, where you can compare the two and see, what's changed?
Yeah, and honestly, in the past, mostly what I've seen is how many shop towel fibers I've gotten into that engine, which you'd be surprised.
Really? Wow.
They kind of makes you feel guilty after when you get an analysis back, and it's like, we found all these shop towel fibers, and I'm like, oops, how did that happen?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you've been sending it off to like Blackstone Labs or one of those, right? And now I know that AMSOIL has their own service as well. And Mark Nyholm, who's one of their engineers, was out at AMSOIL. I'm sure he would be happy to help you get that data back. And hopefully it wouldn't be as embarrassing as the first time with shop towels.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you get your appendix out and they find out that they left, some sort of surgeon cloth inside you. Oh, crap, we got to go back in.
Yep.
Who was telling us that story? Holman, it was just, when I was out at Brad Lovell was telling me that he was doing a race and he was hearing a clanking. He's like, the whole race, he's hearing clank, clank, clank. And he's like, it feels like there's a socket wrench or something, or there's a socket in the transmission. And he's like, I told the mechanics, as they laughed at me, got back, they tore the trans apart, they found a 10 millimeter in the transmission.
So now we figured out where 10 millimeters go to die.
They're all going into the transmission. Last thing here, Ken, is that 8th mile drag. I'm going to play a clip of it right here. That's insane. One more time. 8th mile. Here we go. Oh my God, I'm getting nervous just watching this. Dang. So that run right there, virtually no smoke, which I thought is like from the school of Gail Banks, but also it looks freaky. I mean, it's so fast. Tell me about being in the driver's seat, 8th mile with minimum of 1,700 horsepower. Did you do nitrous on that run?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do nearly as much nitrous as the dyno, but it is still enough to feel like you are attached to a rocket. One of the other things is like the shifting on that. We shift at 5,000 RPM on every shift. And, to test that, you can't really test that anywhere. Like you just hope it's going to hit the shift and it doesn't miss and just skyrocket. Like you can't put it on jack stands and test if it at 5,000 RPM, and then hope it shifts through the gears. So, when we go to the drag strip and we put all the shift points in, you just kind of really hope it hits them. Obviously it worked out great for us. We had one pass where we missed a shift and we kind of found something in the software. But man, when it does hit the points, it is like riding a bull, right? You are just going, the acceleration is unreal.
And then I've got one last question. What is your tow rig and how miserable is it to drive home after feeling a 3,000 horsepower rocket strapped to your butt?
It is way slower. So, but
is it a Ram?
It does feel like yep. We got a 2018 Ram.
Do you yell at it going up hills, going, "Don't make me tear into this one like the one behind you"?
No, I honestly have been like just trying to fight myself, but man, I know you guys offer some products for it. And I'm like, man, it's almost time. It's almost time.
I'm surprised I didn't get a text message like I
Yeah.
need to get a pedal monster.
Well, we know a guy. We know a guy.
Well, listen, Ken, what an accomplishment. Congratulations.
Congrats for sure.
2024 Ultimate Call Out Challenge.
That'd be the
champion.
AMSOIL
Ultimate
Call Out Challenge.
Okay, let's start again. You do it. Do it in your English official voice. Do you have that?
My English? No, I don't.
No, I want you to do it in an English
I
accent.
don't think I can do an English
Really?
accent.
Why not? You do an English accent. How about Australian?
Poorly. I do Australian. Maybe a little bit. Nah, they're all
No?
bad.
That's why I want you to do it. Give me some Aussie. The 2024. No, I can't do it. Go ahead.
Wow, what you do it?
No, I don't even know what that is.
That was way funnier.
All I do is a southern accent. And I do it poorly.
Wow,
I do it poorly.
You do that poorly.
All right,
all right,
give it to
here
me.
we go. What are we doing?
2024 Ultimate Call Out Challenge champion Ken Bruner. Capital Diesel Performance.
I can't do it.
Oh, what are we talking about?
That's too many words.
No, you can do that. Give me a shot.
And his name's Ken Bruner. And from the AMSOIL Ultimate Call Out Challenge. Presented by KT Performance.
He's the winner. You didn't say that he's the champion.
I did. Whatever. He's the champion.
That was weak.
This is dumb. He wants to go to bed, and we're playing games with him.
I know, all right. Ken, you're
Poor
the best.
dude.
Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Get some sleep. Get back on the road and get over to Santa Rosa and then enjoy that trophy. Is it a big trophy? Did you even get it yet? Is it like 4 foot tall?
It's taller than I am, man. It's crazy.
All right. Well, we want to see a picture of you standing next to that thing, and hit Lightning up when you get back. He'll get you all sorts of Banks parts for your truck.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Really.
All right. Get some sleep. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother.
Sounds good. Bye.
All right. Later.
AMSOIL Ultimate Call Out Challenge, presented by KT Performance. Champion, winning, Ken Bruner. One guy in the back clapping.
With a wooden arm?
I got nothing.
2 wooden hands?
I got nothing. It's late in the day.
That's funny.
Ah.
All right. It's email time.
You email? Yeah. I email. Do it. We email. That's right. Everybody email. Type it up. You email. Proofread. I email. Send it. We email. Click it. Everybody email.
Holy mackerel, dude. You gave me a pile of email. Or
No, it's actually just one email with
Oh, that's just one
12,
dude?
12 pages.
Oh, wow. Look at the photos actually printed properly now. They're huge. I can see them for the first time ever. And the type is large enough for me to read. All right. So the first one is from Winter Douglas, Lighting, and Holman. All right. So if you heard the last episode, I chastised you for not putting in 2 N's in lightning. So he writes Lighting.
Not consecutively.
And Holman. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I've been a listener for over a year, and I've enjoyed your banter each episode, but not once have I seen a sticker in my local area repping the Truck Show podcast. Lame! Attached are some pics of Lightning's favorite... See, that time he spelled it right. Attached are some pics of Lightning's
because he was
favorite
making
wheels.
fun of you in the beginning.
I know
He's
he was,
down
exactly.
to business now.
He's got it, yeah. Anyway, I'm attaching pics of Lightning's favorite wheels on his 1988 Desert Runner hardbody parked next to me a few weeks back. And that is awesome. Did you see that photo? That is a very
Desert
cool
Runner.
red, white, and blue Desert Runner Nissan hardbody.
Freaking awesome.
Also, I've got pics while I'm driving of, there's one more Frontier, a red Frontier, a gray Frontier, and best of all is a picture of my first vehicle, a 1984 720 4x4 King Cab,
Nice.
which I purchased used for $4,000 at 16 years old back in the early 90s.
Probably still being driven right now.
It might be. I've been a Nissan lover ever since, and I've enjoyed the quiet domination it has over the midsize market. And he's got photos of this really sweet, is it probably baby blue of that?
It's like a silvery blue metallic.
Silvery
It's
blue
really
metallic, yeah. And I love how he's taken a photograph of a photograph.
Well,
Because
you didn't have an iPhone back then.
No, there's no iPhones back there. Exactly. Look at this. Cool. What wheels are those, do you suppose?
Those would be American Racing Outlaw 2s, which is a very classic wheel, especially back then.
Yeah, that's a good looking truck. I'd rock that today. P.S. Always wanted a license plate frame that said, "My other ride is your mom." Big fan, Winter D, a.k.a. the Angry Snowman.
Okay, well, I got a question. Are you saving that email to send him a sticker since he sent you so much Nissan Frontier goodness?
Yeah, I probably should. All I need
Or will
is...
you ghost him?
No, I'm going to send just this page is all I need because that's got his Costa Mesa address. Winter, I am going to send you some stickers. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting because we got
It's unlike everybody
email
else.
here.
Yeah, I know.
By Trevor Nemero says, ghosted by lightning. I hit lightning up for some Banks sexy time DM action and never heard anything back. I
Wait,
must
what?
not be his type.
That's
PS,
not no way that happened.
Lightning, you also ghosted me on Frontier Spotting 2.
That's possible.
Rolling eye emoji. So Trevor, who emails us all the time, super fan of the Truck Show podcast, you've denied him twice.
So wait a minute. Wait. Give that to me. I denied him about Banks parts?
Yeah, he says you never got back to him in the DMs. So do something
Oh,
with that.
DMs. Yeah.
Well, why do you say it like that? That's how you tell people to communicate with you.
Trevor.
That's like if you said, hey, call my number. Here's my digits. And
so
then
you
like 2 months
started that.
later, that person
You
goes.
were like slide into Lightning's DMs.
That person goes 2 months later, they're like, hey, dude, you never called me back. You're like, phone call. Phone number? Phone, huh?
Uh-huh.
Like, that's what you told me
Telephony.
to do.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Trevor, happy to hook you up. Legitimately happy to hook you up. But I will ask, please email me. We'll handle it that way. I'll even call you. I will phone you, Trevor, but I got to get your phone number.
We probably have it in the email.
It's
You should
possible.
probably just look for it. Why make the man do more work since you failed him on so many occasions?
He's got time to write. Trevor, hit me up. lightning@truckshowpodcast.com. Let's get you some bank stuff. And this one's coming in from Wade Goldsmith to, general email box at truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. Photograph of the Mini Bago, which is a little itty-bitty tiny aluminum Winnebago.
It's like shorter than a person, but it's to scale, and it looks super awesome.
It is freaking
Like,
awesome.
it's
And
a
video.
around, like fairgrounds. Or something?
I've seen that. Yeah, it's going around everywhere. I don't know who made it or what the story is, but it's freaking awesome.
This is the Mini Bago, a tiny Winnebago tribute built by Toy Factory Fabrication. The Mini Bago is based on a Yamaha G29 golf cart with a custom aluminum body with working lighting over an adventure-themed interior with a water gun system on the roof, mounting in the rear for an electric mini bike, and more.
All right, I got this email here from... So I found out that our website actually has communication email correspondence, but it comes to my other email box as a Shopify mailer thing. And so I went and I'm like, oh, we have a bunch of emails from people that are really old that have emailed us through the website.
They're old or the emails are old?
The emails are old coming through the website.
Okay.
And so I am going...
It'd be funnier, though, if like a bunch of like 100-year-olds, like some old men were saying, I've been listening to you
Well, that's
forever."
gonna be the snail mail that we get. So anyway, here's a few that are kind of old, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. Just we gotta clear these out. So we got this one from looks like Chris Johnson says.
When was it sent? 1998?
No, October 24th. That's why I want to get through these.
Of what year?
Last year.
Okay.
And he says, I'm going to cut to the chase. Holman teased a roof rack for the 392 a few episodes back. Break the news!
Wow.
Set on a branded roof rack for my own Wrangler. I was ready to buy it until I heard this little tidbit on your podcast. I've been patiently holding off on my purchase, waiting to hear what Holman's going to get and why, because I value his opinion.
You don't need to answer this because you've already talked about it on the show and he's heard it.
Thanks,
He's
guys.
actually got the answer.
Keep up the amazing work, Chris in Norcal. Yeah, but somebody's listening right now. The answer is I went with a Rhino rack, Pioneer rack with the backbone system, which allows the rack to kind of go through the hardtop and bolt to your tub and to the roll bar, and it works great.
Tremor is the subject line from Bart Harkey. Lightning and Holman. I was catching up on the podcast today, and I'm a Ford guy. So when Holman talked about what a great truck the Ford F-150 Tremor was, I thought to myself, I never buy new, but I did buy a 2022 Tremor last October, and I frickin' love it. I loved my 2014 FX4 until I got this one. Lightning, I have not modified this one, and I really don't have any plans to. It's good right out of the box. Wrong. I did buy the EGR bed cover, and it's fantastic! I had another brand on my truck that was good, but not even close to this EGR. I didn't spring for the motorized version, but I love this thing. Thanks for the truck and product reviews. Side note, I also bought a 65 F100. Previous owner put a 429 Thunderjet from a 1969 Thunderbird in it. Total hack job, but it runs so nothing immediately planned for it at this time. Other projects in line. Keep up the great content. Some vintage truck content would be cool. OG, yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
And that's Bart. Oh, he owns Georgia Metal Fab.
Yeah, he's emailed us before. He's a longtime listener.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Bart's all about, what kind of fab he can do.
All right, I've got this one here from Creighton Burrows writes, greatest wife ever. Hidden agenda. Hi, Holman and Lightning. First, thank you for the stickers to all of those out there waiting. Lightning will eventually deliver.
Dude, sometimes.
Says, I recently...
I like to surprise. You know what I mean?
He's says he recently turned 50, which is something you did about 7 or 8 years ago. Almost made Dr. Pepper come out of his nose. That was funny.
A little bit came out of my left nostril.
That was
hurt.
funny.
Ouch. I have Dr. Pepper in my left nose. That sucks.
That was awesome.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Wow. I got you. I got you good.
I was not prepared to blow Dr. Pepper through my nose right now.
Well, you've been fighting off a head cold for 2 weeks.
It's crazy.
So...
And I cannot shake. You guys can tell. I'm super. Listen, I know I'm nasally normally. No, I get it. But this is bad. Like, I've had this since like 2 days before Memorial Day.
Yeah, and hopefully by the time they hear this, it's gone. Who cares? Let's move it on.
Sorry, moving on.
If you're not dead, nobody cares.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I might be.
Then I don't know. Especially since you're in your mid-60s.
No, I'm not.
For my birthday, my wife and son found a 68 Plymouth Barracuda in a barn in Northern California that had been off the road for 5+ years. My son and I got it running again to drive and enjoy while we make plans for future upgrades, V8 swap, 4-speed manual, etc. After we got the Barracuda back on the road, my wife shared her little secret that the car was to keep me busy and leave our beloved 2013 Jeep JK 2-door alone. The JK has been a passion of mine since we bought it new off the lot with 15 miles. I still can't believe back in 2013 you could pick up a stripped-down Sport with AC as the only option for $21,000. Over the years, the only thing untouched has been the 3.6 and manual transmission. She knew that I had an itch, and as soon as we went to 37s or larger tires, that starts a whole new domino effect that could ruin the charm of our little JK. Attached are some pics of our 2-door JK on 35s that's kept up with the guys on 40s throughout Moab and the Rubicon, Fordyce. Gotta love our wives that look out for us and the Jeeps they love. Keep up the good work, and thank you for those stickers. Yeah, buddy. And that's from our friend Creighton Burrows, and he's got a picture here of his Wrangler JK on 35s driving down White Knuckle on the Behind the Rocks Trail in Moab, which is a killer trail.
Yeah, buddy!
Thanks for sharing your story with us.
And rounding out the email segment, lightning@truckshowpodcast.com, Holman@truckshowpodcast.com, or truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. Dennis Durrell starts off with massive Toyota V35A recall. Lightning, 2 ends, dude! Have you heard? So what is this massive Toyota V35A recall, Mr. Holman?
So I think the last show we were talking about how people were surmising that the stressedness...
Stressedness? No.
Is that a word? No?
I don't think so.
That the stressing of the 3.5-liter V6 turbos and all that kind of stuff was shortening their life because there had been a lot of failures, more than you might expect from a typical Toyota. And our friends over the drive wrote a story that kind of talked about over square, under square, and then horsepower per liter, torque per liter as Toyota trucks have evolved over the years. Well, the very next day, a recall came out and a bunch of listeners sent it over to us, and that was Toyota saying that they're recalling around 102,000 2022 and 2023 Lexus LX600s and Toyota Tundra trucks, and they're saying the machining debris was left inside the engine that could cause the failures.
Whoa! That's not right.
Oof.
So officially, if you own that vehicle, if you own a Tundra or a Land Cruiser LX600, I guess it's the Lexus version Land Cruiser, Lexus LX600, you'll be notified in July. But it says the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration has a tool on its website to tell you whether or not your vehicle is under recall, so you can go there. And then Toyota also has some tools in place if you go online. So it looks like if you just bought one, you've got a 2024 Tundra or LX600, you don't have anything to worry about. Apparently, the issue was found out in fall of 2023. They discovered that the production issue could be traced to a Toyota engine assembly plant in Alabama and was limited to those vehicles that were produced from November 2nd, 2021 to February 13th, 2023, and Lexus LX600s from July 30th, 2021 to November 25th, 2022. And so if you are wondering where to find that information, open your door, and on your label, it'll tell you your date of manufacture.
This is going to feel like a lottery ticket, but worse. You know what I mean? Like I won something bad.
Yeah,
I'd be scared to open my door jamb and look down.
Yeah, that sucks. So anyway, just a follow-up. So thanks to all of our listeners who emailed us that little hat tip there.
I'm actually excited that we don't have one of those Toyota products.
Yeah, I'm sure Toyota is too, because that would be one more to fix.
Truckshowpodcast@gmail.com is the general inbox. If you want to hit me, it's lightning at truckshowpodcast.com. 2 N's in lightning, by the way.
And he may not get back to you.
Or Holman at truckshowpodcast.com.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Whoa, whoa.
You can follow us on our socials at Sean P. Holman, at LBC Lighting, at Truck Show Podcast, or you can reach us on the 5-star hotline, 657-205-6105. If you're looking for events in your area, head over to truckshowpodcast.com to our events tab, where you can find out all sorts of things that are happening. If you happen to have an event, please email us at the truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. Email inbox, and we will add it to the calendar.
By the way, were you checking out my Instagram last weekend when I was down at HRE Wheels open house? I had a flurry of photographic content. It was great.
And so it's the first time your social has been updated in how long?
I mean, it's just, I go these long spurts, and I didn't used to be this bad. But now I'll do a flurry over like a couple of days, and then it's kind of quiet for a while, and then just a flurry of activity. So I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. I know you guys aren't waiting. Oh, if only would Lightning post to Instagram or Facebook, you know?
Nobody cares.
No, they don't care. They don't care at all.
Until you have something cool, then they care.
They didn't really care about the Legos that I posted the other day.
I did see the Legos. You were
Yeah.
talking about how it's relaxing or something like that.
You know what? I was still sick, feeling like ass, and I'm just like, you know what? Today I'm going to build Legos, because you'd given me the 6x6 some time ago, which I still have to get to. My kids gave me a couple of Star Wars ones to build, and first up in the queue was a Ford Mustang GT. And I have no idea why I bought it, because I'm not a big fan of the GT. I know Gail Banks owns one, a red white.
I think it's awesome.
Red white, and his license plate is and blue. So the car is red and white.
Right.
License plate is
red
and
with
blue.
red with white stripes.
Exactly. So I don't know. Maybe I felt like a little bit of kinship just indirectly through to that car through Gail or something. I don't know. But I bought the blue one when it first went on sale, and I bought a Mercedes F1 car for my brother, and he was pumped. I bought it right after it went on sale.
Nice.
And I don't know, man. Like building Legos, it's just it's cathartic. It's nice, and I feel like a kid again. I got to be honest. Like, I do a lot of stuff that's old man, but building
groan
Legos
when you sit down or get up.
No, luckily I don't do much groaning, but although I do every once in a while catch myself doing the old man thing where you pick something up that's heavy and you go, huh? And you go, why did I just make that noise? I didn't need to.
No, it's just something that happens in time.
No, but why do you make that noise?
You do.
But you don't need to at all.
But you do.
You could easily just not make that noise and just pick it up. You could pick up the bucket and
It's not how the world works.
No, but why do old men make all those groany noises?
Why do we keep making this podcast?
And why do old men fart? Like, seriously. I bet, just recently, I don't want to say who it was.
Okay, moving right along, Lightning.
But
speaking of noises, let's get into all of you that sent us Know Your Notes. We don't quite have enough for an episode yet, so please don't forget to send us your Know Your Notes or hit us up on the 5-star hotline again, 657-205-6105. Also, last request for this episode, please leave us a message and a review on the Apple Podcast app. We really appreciate it.
All right, Holman, and you've waited quite a while for this. I'm going to debut a brand new Truck Show podcast song.
Tune in every week, lightning making noise, and killing Holman's joys. You'll start to love these boys. Often like rock stars, these are dreams on the run. Hear the stories that's fun. Some are smart and some are dumb. Truck Show Podcast, living life in the fast lane. Podcast blasting, turn it up till you feel the pain.
Right?
Is this an 80s sitcom? What's going on there?
That's not that bad. Hey, all right, maybe you like this one a little bit
did
better.
that one?
Oh, hold on. Let's...
Tune in every week with lightning making noise and killing Holman's joys. You'll start to love these boys. Truck Show Podcast. Living life in the fast lane.
What do you think?
You're having way too much fun with AI.
Maybe.
Truck Show Podcast. Living life in the fast lane. Podcast blasting. Feel the kids you can.
Rad, huh?
All right.
How cool is that?
That's cool.
It's freaking awesome. I'm not going to play any more for you. I got other stuff.
I mean, how much
I got
This
other
is what
stuff
you did all
planned.
week?
I'm not saying that I'm a genius. I'm saying that this is some good.
All right. Well, we need some jingles for other things.
Oh, I'm well aware. I've already started working on them.
All right.
Maybe I've got a subscription to this service. Maybe I don't.
Maybe. Who owns the rights to those?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, legit. I did some research. We
All
own
right.
these.
Great.
This is Lightning and Holman production.
That is super weird.
Yes, it is.
All right. We are going to thank
Nissan,
our
yes.
presenting sponsor, Nissan, for
I'm going to make a Nissan song.
Are you?
Nissan Frontier, living life in the fast lane. See, I can't sing. That's why I have to sing.
Right.
Someone do it for me.
Right. That wasn't a person, though, right?
Maybe it was.
Okay, super weird. All right, if you're looking for a new truck, head on down to your local Nissan dealership, where you can check out the Nissan Frontier or the...
I didn't play this one for you. This one's like totally Blink-182, right?
Tune in every week. Car engines roaring loud. Talking trucks are proud. Revving hearts into the crowd.
Like totally Blink, right?
Or a Nissan Titan. Head on down to your local Nissan dealership, nissanusa.com. Thank you, Nissan, for being the presenting sponsor of the Truck Show Podcast.
And thank you to Banks Power, purveyor of phenomenal diesel performance parts that you can bolt onto your truck and gain fuel economy or power. And you're probably looking for power. Head to bankspower.com. Before you do that, though, hit me on either the gram or lightning@truckshowpodcast.com, and I will hook a brother up with a little something, something. So when you go back to bankspower.com, type in your year, make, and model, you'll be able to enter this little something, something code and save yourself a little something, something.
All right. And if that something happens to be synthetic lubricants and car care products, you want to head over to AMSOIL.com, where you can find the company that was first in synthetics. And they do a lot of research. Quality first, family owned, just an amazing company, amazing products. And the fact that they are the title sponsor of Ultimate Callout Challenge and freaking won! Woo! So congrats to our friends over at AMSOIL, and thanks again to Ken Bruner for coming on the show and talking about his experience with UCC, and our we just happen to be aligned with their sponsors and ours.
Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Roush and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before us tonight. Thank you for GM Performance Technology and the R07 engines. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. My two children, Eli and Emma, or as we like to call them, the Little E's. Lord, I pray you bless the drivers and use them tonight. May they put on a performance worthy of this great track. In Jesus' name, boogity, 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 amen.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
Well, Lightning and Holman got the engines roaring loud, broadcasting from dirt roads right through the crowd. Every diesel, every pickup, hear 'em chug along on the Truck Show Podcast, where the cool rigs belong. Rolling through the highways with taillights shining bright, from the sunrise in the morning to the hustle of the night. They're talking turbocharged Dodgers and those who left it 4x4s. Crank the volume up, folks, you know what's in store. Truck Show Podcast, rev it up and go. Stories from the road where the diesel lovers know. From net kicks to horsepower, they bring it all to light. With Lightning and Holman, every episode's a ride. Doing interviews with truckers who've been coast to coast, sharing tales of highways that they love the most. Fuel pumps, hot grease, and every tire spin. They've got the lowdown, better tune right in. Tune them in for laughter and a whole lot of news. From the rig down Nissan trucks to Chevys you can't refuse. They got tips for towing and tricks for hauling gear. It's the Truck Show Podcast on